Hey guys, welcome back. I just wanted to show you a quick video of my what I just ordered from Rock Auto. As you can see there, this is an Ingalls torque dampener for the S2000. Ingalls was recently bought out by Dorman, so if you try to search for Ingalls.com or any kind of Ingalls for sale ad that's new, you won't be able to find this anymore. So Dorman bought this company and just pretty much slapped their labels on their product, and you still get this brand new in the Ingalls packaging. As you can see here, that's the part number. So if you go to Rock Auto and type in that Dorman part number right there, this should pop right up. And it's $118 from Rock Auto, which is the cheapest I found it anywhere. And if you order from Rock Auto, you guys all know that they will send you 5% off coupons for the next time you order. So of course, I used my previous 5% coupon for this and got it for $112. So pretty good deal. It's all brand new. You open it up, you have the actual damper here, and then inside here, it's got some instructions. You got your bracket that mounts on the engine, and I plan to get these powder-coated wrinkle black to match the S2000 AP1 coil cover. And you can see it comes with some hardware as well to secure it. And I think under here is the final bracket. And I think these are steel. They feel like they're steel, so they're very strong. A little heavy, but like I said, I think this is just like zinc coated or something for corrosion. But they aren't going to look good after a couple of years if you run them in your engine bay and you do give your car any kind of rain or anything, any kind of weather conditions. They won't look this nice. Alright guys, so I'm going to get these two components powder coated wrinkle black, and I'll report back here when it's done. Alright guys, so these are the final product from JT Powder Coating in New Windsor, New York. These brackets for the torque damper. And the idea behind that was so it would match the OEM coil pack cover. You wouldn't have a shiny giant piece of metal sticking out like a sore thumb in the engine bay. So I'm going to make mine a little different than the others with the wrinkle black. Of course, we're going to put it in the car now. Ingalls provides some instructions, and then you actually have the stiffy itself right here. Don't worry about setting preload and stuff on that later. I'm just going to put the brackets on the car right now. And of course you got some hardware in here. Follow the instructions. Should be pretty straightforward. What you're going to do is remove these two socket head cap screws and securing the head to the block right here. And you also have to remove the VTEC solenoid wire bracket and remount it over on this screw back here. Just kind of twist it off to the side to make room for the bracket. And then I believe the final bolt that secures the bracket to the block is the one down here. It looks like it's a 14mm head, and I believe these look like they're M6s or M8s. I'm not too sure. And then of course you got your 14mm hexes on top of your suspension over here that you're going to bolt your chassis bracket to. Alright, so this is what the sensor mod looks like. Torque that back down and move it to right here. Get your wire for your solenoid running behind this. I wrapped this in some electrical tape since the age of it is starting to crack. Just a little extra protection. And then this is my OEM oil sensor idiot light, capped off and zip tied shut. But the wire for this wraps right underneath this oil pressure sensor and to the harness right there. So now we have a clean line to mount the bracket for the Ingalls. Alright guys, so I got it all installed and kind of loose right now. Nothing's really torqued down, but I just wanted to give you guys an up-close look at the Ingalls torque damper on the S2000. The only thing that's kind of interesting I found with the install was the instructions and then the packet in the box contradict themselves, so it's kind of weird. So on this sheet here, it talks about the end that's connected to the the cylinder itself being the chassis mount. It's saying this end mounts to the chassis mounted bracket. So you'd think you'd want to install it on this, which is the chassis mount bracket. And of course the other side says this end mounts to the engine mounting bracket, which is the piston end. Of course I have it backwards here. The piston end is going to the chassis bracket and the cylinder end is going to the engine bracket. Not sure if it really makes a difference. It really shouldn't, since this kind of dampens each way. I don't really see why it would matter which way it's installed. But to confirm, I'll show you. This is the instructions they include, which contradict their box that shows the picture in the instructions having the piston end to the chassis mount bracket and the cylinder end to the engine mount bracket, which is exactly how I have it. Alright, so after watching a few YouTube videos, they had it installed the way I did, like the instructions, but there's people that left comments that had a lot of likes on them, that they had it backwards. So I'm just going to assume that the directions for the S2000 dampener are shown wrong and described wrong, and I'm going to go by their general guide here about which end mounts to the chassis and which end mounts to the engine. So as you can see here, I flipped it around. The rod end now goes to the engine, and the cylinder end goes to the chassis mount. Right now, you're probably thinking, oh, the Ingalls is supposed to be on the front side, but I'm leaving it on the top because that definitely, there's no way that matters of what orientation this cylinder is in. So I'm going to leave it on top because if I give this another quarter turn, they say right here in their directions that they don't want to have the mounting end here have more than 6 threads exposed or 10 millimeters. And that's exactly where I'm at right now. I'm at about 10 millimeters on the money for how many threads I have here, and I have like 6, if not 6.5 threads poking out of this thing just to make sure it's nominally lined up to install. Of course, everything's not torqued yet. It's kind of loose in there, and these are just hand tight, but to span the gap, I needed to loosen that like 2 full turns from when they sent it to me. So not sure really why that was like that, but this is the final product. I'm going to go ahead and torque this down and figure out how to add a little more preload to a unit with these adjustment nuts. Alright, so I just looked online to confirm in my S2000 owner's manual, the helm manual, that these bolts down here with a 6mm hex socket are going to be torqued down to 16 foot-pounds. Unfortunately, I couldn't find a torque spec within the 30 minutes I was looking through the manual for this guy that goes in the side with the spacer behind it. But I'm just going to give it the old uggas and use my feel for that one. It's a bigger bolt diameter, so you can torque it down definitely more than these. I was really only concerned with these because these go and attach the head to the block, so if you really torque these down way more than they should be, you're kind of side loading the head gasket a little bit. So 16 foot-pounds for those. I feel that's critical. The one down here I don't think is very critical. Of course, you're going to tighten down your shock bolts. I usually don't torque these to spec. I kind of just use a wrench and go by feel. And then they don't give really torque specs for these either, so I'm just going to wrench them down without a torque wrench and call it a day. But I'd say those are the only critical ones. Alright, so the whole install is done. I got the intake back on the car. As you can see, it looks really good in the engine bay, matching the coil cover and all the other black kind of wrinkle accents. It doesn't stand out like a sore thumb with a bright silver finish in front of the engine block there. So as you guys are wondering how much clearance you have with this kind of intake, the Takeda FAE intake and the Ingalls torque damper, it almost fits perfectly. You can see you have just enough room for that bolt on the bottom, and you have access, since this intake kind of slopes down in the back, to get to the bolts on top if you ever need to take it off and service the torque damper, and you have plenty of room to get to the preload adjustment screws right there. So all in all, super clean design. And I'll report back later this year when I take it on the track and look how the shift knob moves through the turns when you're in gear. Again, this car has hard race engine and transmission mounts. I added this for extra assurance and a little less movement, a little less strain on the mounts. This should prevent the shifter from moving in the car even more, so that should help with mis-shifting and not grabbing the wrong gear mid-turn. Looking forward to it. So stay tuned, guys. Give a thumbs up to the video, subscribe if you haven't already. Leave a comment to let me know what you think of how the car's coming along. Thanks, guys.